Okay, all nodes are back online. The cluster is healthy. We can see cluster fault tolerance is still one node. Resiliency is okay. Maximum of one node failures. Go to Prism Element. You can also see green heart, 6 hosts, 6 online. No issues with resiliency. No cluster critical alerts. If we go back to the virtual machine itself that we're testing, we can see both drives. Obviously, Windows is not hung at all. And I've got BST running. It's written about 103 gigs. If we go back over to CVM and we run node tool, we run cluster status, you can see all nodes are online. Give this a second. All right, cluster's up, no reports of issues. But there's going to be. So what we're going to do is, since we are in a cluster that can only tolerate one simultaneous node failure, we're going to power off 2 nodes. And so my virtual machine currently lives on node 1. We're actually going to power off nodes 5 and 6, primarily because my Prism Central and my VM live on node 1, and I don't want them to do an HA event because that's different testing here. I'm only worried about storage and cluster resiliency. I also am going to keep my Prism element online because if I do fault this cluster, which we should, Prism Central will stop working since it also runs on this cluster. This is just my lab environment, so that's why that exists as it does. I don't think there's anything else we can take a look at, so let's just break some stuff, huh? All right, what are we at? We're at 117 gigs. So let's go to node 5. Remote control, power off, right here, immediate. For that to say that it's done. Possibly. There we go, host is off. Let's go to the next node, remote control, hard power off, immediate. By this time, there is no way for the cluster to have recovered from the first node failure, and we are simultaneously failing a second node. Again, I'm logged into the host, the actual system itself, not the CVM, through out-of-band management. So Prism Central is probably going to sit there for a second and start complaining. Let's see what happens with our node tool. So it actually is already reporting 2 nodes as offline. Let's see if we can access our virtual machine. As you can see, it has frozen transfer of 0. So the VM is still living on the host, right? So anything that's in memory should still work. But if we go and try to open other things, yeah, see, it won't open the desktop. I can't even click on Start menu to open up computer management, system management, etc. Yeah, really I can't even go back to BST. Prism Central shouldn't load because the cluster has faulted. So since it's a virtual machine as well and it relies on the underlying storage, it has failed. Go to Prism Element. It may or may not respond because we have now killed the cluster. So yeah, it's just going to sit here in timeout, right? So we have proven that if you take down 2 nodes in an RF2 / failure to tolerate 1 cluster, that you have now borked your cluster. Let's actually run cluster status. Right, so the cluster itself, it's showing 2 CVMs down and 1 up. Cluster is completely faulted. And of course, Prism Central is unable to work due to storage being unavailable. But our VM is still online, but hey, it can't access any storage, so it's pretty much useless, right? So how do we recover from this? So Prism Central is dead. Only way to recover from this is to either restore from backup, If you didn't do this in a lab environment and your cluster actually failed with two nodes simultaneously and say they were like dead, someone poured their drink on it and it's now gone, or it fell down in an earthquake pit or something, you need to restore from backup all your virtual machines and data that's on this cluster. Fortunately for me, I can just come here and perform a power on, and my cluster will actually, after a couple minutes after these nodes boot into AHV and then the CVMs come online, they will talk to the other CVMs and we will actually be healthy again fairly quickly. But I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording because I'm sure y'all don't want to stare at the screen with me for the next 5 to 10 minutes.